Chosen one, this moment did not stumble into your life by accident. It feels like an unexpected knock on the door of your soul, the kind that makes your spirit lift its head and say, "This isn't random. This is a summons, somewhere deep inside you, beyond the noise, beyond the confusion, beyond the ache no one sees. Something already knows this message was sent specifically for you. Your journey hasn't been ordinary. Your tears have had purpose. Your battles were never just life being difficult. They were spiritual investigations, heavenly interrogations, testing the weight of your calling. And today, heaven whispers, listen. You have walked through seasons where shadows followed you like uninvited witnesses, where you felt watched by unseen resistance, questioned by unseen forces, judged by invisible courts. Doors opened, but something in your spirit hesitated. Opportunities appeared, but your peace did not agree. And chosen one, before we go deeper, pause for a moment, hit subscribe, and comment "chosen" if your spirit is already responding. Because this message is about to speak directly to you. This isn't about hype. This is alignment. This is acknowledgement. This is heaven saying, you were not wrong. You were being protected. There were moments you called failure that were actually divine evacuations. There were rooms you wanted to belong to that God refused to let your soul be imprisoned in. You've blamed yourself. You've wondered if you were too slow, too scared, too late. But the truth is, you weren't delayed. You were defended. What looked like rejection was preservation. What felt like loss was rescue. The trap was beautifully packaged, but destiny pulled you back before you signed your freedom away. Listen closely now, because something sacred is approaching. Something you once questioned is about to make perfect sense. This message didn't find you by coincidence. It found you because heaven decided it was time to lift the veil. Anticipation is rising, truth is nearing, and what you're about to hear will change how you see everything. Chosen one, let's talk about something many never realize until it's too late. Not every open door is sacred, and not every opportunity carrying your name was sent from heaven. Some doors shine, sparkle, and glow with promise, yet behind them lies quiet captivity, emotional, spiritual, and sometimes destiny-shifting captivity. Have you ever felt drawn towards something that looked like relief but carried a strange heaviness in your spirit? Have you ever noticed how the things that almost trapped you first arrived looking like blessings, breakthroughs, or answers to prayers you cried over? That's because spiritual traps rarely come looking dangerous. They come disguised as everything you ever wanted. Traps often speak the language of your wounds. They mirror the attention you craved, the opportunity you prayed for, the recognition you silently wanted. They don't come to scare you, they come to comfort you. They come to whisper, "This is it. This is your moment. This is finally your time." But chosen one, manipulation is patient. It studies what your heart longs for. It knows how to present something shiny enough to make you overlook the red flags. Have you ever asked yourself, why did I feel uneasy even while I was hoping for it to work? That uneasy feeling wasn't fear. It was your spirit trying to breathe under a future that wouldn't have allowed it to exist freely. Sometimes the trap looks like love, but it requires you to shrink. Sometimes it looks like success, but it demands your peace. Sometimes it appears like acceptance, but it asks you to betray who you truly are. And many times, what looks like a divine promotion is simply a beautifully wrapped prison offering applause in exchange for your authenticity. Chosen one, real blessings never threaten your soul. They never require silence where you were meant to speak, compromise where you were meant to stand firm, or emotional sacrifice where you deserve protection. Have you noticed that what almost captured you also almost changed you into someone you wouldn't recognize? When something is truly meant for you, your spirit rests. You don't have to force it. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to lose pieces of yourself to keep it. Divine alignment carries peace even in the unknown. But when a spiritual trap appears, it often feels urgent. It pushes you. It makes you feel like if you don't grab it now, you'll lose everything. It places anxiety over timing, fear over patience, and pressure over discernment. Let me ask you, how many times did life try to rush you into something that later revealed it wasn't love, it was control? This is why heaven intervenes. This is why delays happen. This is why something that looked perfect fell apart without explanation. You weren't deprived, you were preserved. You weren't rejected, you were rescued. The blessing was never the glittering opportunity. The blessing was the discernment that protected your destiny. So now, breathe. Release the shame of what didn't work. Release the confusion of why didn't it happen? Release the fear that you missed your breakthrough. You didn't miss a blessing, chosen one. You avoided a beautifully wrapped cage, chosen one. There are moments in life when what you want becomes louder than what you know. Times when your longing, your hunger, your ache for something to finally feel right begins to drown out the quiet voice of wisdom within you. Have you ever wanted something so deeply that you ignored the tension in your spirit? Have you ever prayed for a sign, received it, and still tried to negotiate with it? That's what happens when desire overrides discernment. Your emotions start painting everything in hope-colored light, and suddenly even warnings start looking like encouragement. You tell yourself, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I can handle it. Maybe this time will be different. And slowly, perhaps without even noticing, you begin to silence your inner clarity just to protect your longing. Desire is powerful, chosen one. Loneliness can make illusions look like divine promises. Ambition can make unhealthy situations feel like necessary sacrifices. Urgency can trick you into believing that waiting means missing out. And fear can whisper that if you don't grab this now, nothing else will come. Have you ever been there? That emotional hunger makes you more vulnerable than you realize. Suddenly, you begin to justify red flags. You ignore the discomfort in your spirit. You convince yourself that you're being too cautious, too guarded, too suspicious. Yet deep down, something within you keeps tightening. Something feels off, even while you're hoping it's right. That inner conflict isn't weakness, it's guidance. And here is the most beautiful yet humbling truth. Sometimes heaven has to protect you, from your impatience, from your desperation, from the version of you that is tired of waiting and willing to settle for stability over purpose. Have you ever looked back and realized that what you were chasing would have cost you more than it gave you? That what you were convinced you needed would have drained your peace, your identity, your light? This is why situations collapse. This is why certain connections don't last. This is why doors close right when you were ready to enter. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were worth protecting. There are battles you never had to fight because divine intervention stepped in before the damage reached your soul. There were seasons that ended abruptly because your future needed space to breathe. Sometimes God breaks what you think you need so you don't break becoming someone you were never meant to be. Does that resonate with you? Can you see moments in your life where you thought you were losing everything, but in truth you were being saved from something much heavier? Chosen one, don't punish yourself for wanting deeply. It means your heart is alive, capable of faith, capable of hope. But learn to honor your spirit more than your urgency. Learn to trust the quiet voice within you more than the loud promises outside of you. Discernment is protection, alignment is peace. And when heaven steps in, even through disappointment, it is not rejection, it is rescue. So breathe, release the guilt, release the regret, release the thought that you should have tried harder. Sometimes the bravest thing heaven allowed you to do was lose what would have eventually taken you away from yourself. You were not abandoned, you were guarded. And one day, everything in you will say, "Thank God I didn't force what wasn't meant for me." Chosen one, sometimes the greatest miracles in your life are not the things that happened, but the things heaven never allowed you to step into. There are storms you never had to walk through, heartbreaks you never had to experience, and silent battles you never had to endure because something divine interrupted the process. Have you ever paused and asked yourself, what if that situation I cried over actually broke me? What if what I wanted so badly would have slowly drained the light inside of me? Often, the real blessing is not the opportunity gained, but the emotional devastation avoided. There are costs you can't see when you're standing at the beginning of something that looks promising. At first, everything appears exciting. The dream feels close. The connection seems meaningful. The opportunity feels validating. But hidden beneath the surface is a price your soul would have been forced to pay. Emotional exhaustion, constant self-doubt, walking on eggshells just to be accepted, shrinking yourself to stay included. Have you ever stayed somewhere too long and realized you were losing yourself a little more each day? That is the emotional cost heaven refused to let you pay again. Sometimes the cost is not loud pain. It's slow erosion. It's waking up every day feeling a little less like you. It's smiling publicly while silently aching privately. It's pretending you're okay while your spirit whispers, "This is not home." You would have had to sacrifice your peace to keep the illusion. You would have had to silence your light just to remain tolerated. Chosen one, do you really think you lost anything when what you were spared from would have required you to trade your joy, your clarity, your identity? And then there is the heartbreak you avoided, the nights of confusion, the emotional dependency, the betrayal that would have left scars. Heaven saw conversations you didn't hear, intentions you couldn't read, futures you couldn't yet imagine. So instead of letting you walk into emotional destruction, life interrupted the story early. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it confused you. Yes, it felt unfair. But what you called rejection was actually protection in disguise. Have you ever looked back later and said, if that stayed in my life, I wouldn't be who I am right now? The emotional cost you avoided is a testimony of your worth. It means your future mattered too much to risk it in the wrong environment. It means your heart was too valuable to be shattered casually. It means your purpose was too big to be suffocated in a place that could not handle your calling. Instead of breaking, you were preserved. Instead of bleeding internally, you were shielded. Instead of losing yourself, you were guided back to your truth. So breathe, chosen one. Release the illusion that you missed a blessing. Release the guilt of what could have been. Release the regret of closed doors. Understand this deeply. Sometimes God doesn't just save your life. He saves your heart, your mind, and your spirit from battles that would have consumed you. You didn't just avoid a situation. You avoided emotional captivity. You kept your soul intact. And now, one day at a time, you will see clearly why you were pulled away. Peace will replace confusion. Gratitude will replace disappointment. Strength will replace sorrow. And when that realization settles fully in your spirit, you'll whisper with certainty, "Thank God I didn't stay where my soul would have suffered." Chosen one, there are seasons where disappointment doesn't simply visit. It settles in like an uninvited guest, and you wonder why life had to unfold the way it did. You prayed, you believed, you hoped with your whole heart, and yet the outcome didn't match the faith you poured into it. Have you ever asked yourself, why did it hurt this much if it wasn't meant for me? Why did I care so deeply for something that refused to stay? This is where many souls break, but this is also where truth reveals itself. Your disappointment wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. It wasn't abandonment. It was alignment. Sometimes heaven has to let something collapse so your destiny doesn't. There were moments where you cried, not because you were weak, but because something inside you recognized the loss before your mind understood the protection. Your tears watered clarity. Your sadness softened pride. Your heartbreak humbled your spirit enough to be guided instead of driven only by desire. Can you see it now? If everything always worked, pride would grow. Ego would lead. Impulse would rule. But disappointment slows you down long enough to listen. It breaks illusions. It teaches discernment. It forces you to pause and ask deeper questions like, what did I really want? Why was I attached to it? Was it truly meant for my soul or just for my ego? This is where disappointment becomes divine discipline. Not the type that punishes, but the type that protects. Heaven saw what you couldn't, the intention behind the opportunity, the true nature behind the connection, the future weight behind the choice. You only saw the moment. Heaven saw the lifetime. Have you ever looked back and realized that if a certain situation continued, it would have reshaped you in ways that did not match who you were born to become? That no you hated was mercy wearing disguise. It shut a path that would have taken years from your life, peace from your spirit, and identity from your soul. Unanswered prayers are not silent neglect. They are loud protection. Sometimes the prayer you cried was sincere, but the outcome you asked for would have lived outside your purpose. And because you are chosen, your path cannot be governed by desperation. It must be guided by destiny. So instead of giving you what you asked for, heaven gave you what you needed: release, redirection, and renewal. The delay built strength. The loss created space. The silence developed wisdom. Does that resonate with you? Can you see now that disappointment didn't break you? It built you. Disappointment sharpened your discernment. It matured your faith. It deepened your relationship with purpose. It taught you to trust timing rather than your timeline, and alignment rather than appearance. One day you'll look back at the moments that once shattered you and realize they were sacred turning points. They didn't end your story. They corrected its direction. So breathe, chosen one. Let your heart rest in the truth that nothing you lost was capable of carrying where you're going. What ended was never meant to define you. It was meant to refine you. And when the real blessing arrives, the one that matches your calling, honors your spirit, and nurtures your peace, you'll finally understand. The disappointment was necessary because it saved you from a future that wasn't worthy of you. Chosen one, there comes a moment in every destiny-driven life where you must decide whether you want to be admired or truly free. Not everything that shines is a blessing, and not every place you are celebrated is aligned with your soul. Sometimes the world will clap for you while your spirit quietly suffocates. Sometimes success will look like happiness on the outside, while your inner world grows quieter, smaller, and dimmer. Have you ever asked yourself, if I finally got what I thought I wanted, why does something inside me still feel trapped? That feeling isn't ingratitude. It's your soul remembering it was born for purpose, not performance. False success is subtle. It doesn't come chained in darkness. It comes wrapped in comfort, routine, admiration, and acceptance. It offers a life that looks full, but feels spiritually empty. It applauds your achievements while slowly asking you to betray your authenticity. It gives recognition but demands your peace. It gives stability but costs your voice. Have you ever noticed how some forms of winning require you to shrink just to keep them? To stay silent so you don't lose them? To bury parts of yourself because they don't fit the version of you people like? That is not success, chosen one. That is beautifully disguised captivity. True freedom isn't loud. It doesn't always come with applause, crowd approval, or public validation. Sometimes freedom looks like walking away from something everyone thinks you're blessed to have. Sometimes it means leaving environments that praise your talent but starve your spirit. Sometimes it means choosing peace over popularity, alignment over attention, and authenticity over applause. Let me ask you, what matters more to you? Being cheered for a version of you that isn't real, or living boldly as the soul you were created to be, even if fewer people understand it? Heaven will always choose your freedom over your applause because your calling is bigger than public approval. You weren't chosen to be trapped inside expectations. You weren't called to decorate cages and pretend they are palaces. You were meant to breathe, expand, evolve, and exist fully as yourself without needing permission. And if something in your life ever forces you to dim your light just to remain accepted, understand this: heaven will disturb that false success until your spirit is free again. There are people who appear successful but cry silently. There are careers that look admirable but drain purpose. There are relationships that look perfect but cage destiny. Maybe that's why certain things in your life could not last. Not because you weren't enough, but because you were too spiritually alive to survive in a place built for conformity. Does that resonate with you? Can you feel that truth stirring inside your heart? Freedom aligns with peace. Freedom breathes. Freedom lets your soul expand instead of compress. Freedom feels like honesty with yourself. When something is truly meant for you, you don't lose yourself to keep it. You don't feel like a prisoner inside your own life. You don't wake up feeling like you're acting instead of living. Real success honors your spirit while blessing your life. Real success includes peace, emotional safety, divine purpose, and authenticity. So, chosen one, as you move forward, I want you to ask yourself powerful questions. Am I admired or am I aligned? Am I applauded or am I fulfilled? Am I performing or am I truly living? Because your destiny was never meant to be a cage with golden bars. You didn't come this far to be owned by expectations. You came this far to become free, and trust this deeply. Whenever heaven pulls you away from something that looks successful but costs your soul, it is not loss. It is liberation. It is protection. It is divine love choosing your freedom every single time. Chosen one, there comes a sacred moment after the storm, after the disappointment, after the confusion, where the real healing doesn't come from answers. It comes from release. Moving forward without resentment is not about pretending nothing hurt you. It's not about denying what you felt or ignoring what you went through. It's about choosing your peace over your anger, your growth over your bitterness, and your future over the weight of what tried to break you. Have you ever noticed how resentment keeps you emotionally tied to the very things you're trying to escape? How it replays memories, reopens wounds, and keeps your heart living in scenes that no longer exist? That is why your freedom requires forgiveness. Not always reconciliation, not always return, but forgiveness as a spiritual detox for your soul. When you carry resentment, you keep your past alive inside you. You rehearse betrayal, you replay disappointment, you relive moments where you were misunderstood, undervalued, or mishandled. And even when life begins to move forward, your heart stays anchored to what happened. But chosen one, you deserve to be free. Fully, deeply, peacefully free. Don't you think your heart deserves to breathe again? Don't you think your spirit deserves silence from the noise of old pain? Healing begins when you honor the truth. What happened hurt, but it does not get to own you. It shaped you, but it will not define you. It stretched you, but it will not limit what your future becomes. Honoring your survival is a holy act. You didn't make it here by accident. You endured what others didn't see. You carried battles silently. You wrestled with emotions, doubts, and fears that could have easily hardened your heart, yet you are still capable of love, compassion, and faith. That is strength. That is victory. That is evidence that your spirit is stronger than the storms you faced. So instead of resenting what happened, can you begin to honor the version of you that survived it? Can you look at yourself not as damaged, but as deeply refined? Not as broken, but as beautifully rebuilt? Reclaiming your peace means choosing not to let the past interrupt your present. It means refusing to let bitterness narrate your story. It means trusting that what left your life was never greater than what is still ahead of you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, I release it, I release them, I release what didn't work, I release what hurt me. Because every time you release, you make room for clarity. Every time you let go, you create space for new blessings to enter. Have you ever felt lighter after finally deciding not to carry something anymore? That is the lightness heaven wants for you. And as you move forward, walk with wisdom, not fear. Let experience shape you, but don't let it harden you. Let lessons stay, but let pain go. Walk with confidence, knowing that everything that didn't remain taught you something priceless about your worth, your boundaries, your strength, and your destiny. You didn't miss your chance. You missed a trap. You weren't denied. You were defended. You weren't left behind. You were led forward. So breathe, chosen one. Lift your head. Place your hand gently over your heart and acknowledge how far you've come. Choose gratitude over resentment. Choose peace over bitterness. Choose destiny over delay. Because your story isn't closing, it's unfolding. And the moment you release what tried to hold you back, you step into the future heaven always intended for you. Lighter, wiser, stronger, and beautifully free.